connectivity for the day is the seated hamstring stretch and the fish out of water stationary. Stationary fish out of water just means that we're not traversing across the floor. Ideally, our footprint is probably going to be, just the length of one of the 4x6 stall mats. So you start in a hollow position, fish out of water to the left, landing in your arch position, fish out of water back to the hollow, and then the next fish out of water that you do should be to the right, landing in the arch position, and then fish out of water back to the original starting hollow position. So the hollow position is sort of the North Star for all of the arch positions. Which direction you're going to go is just going to be the opposite direction than the last one that you went. So instead of going 15 meters across the floor, we can really try to dial in the positioning and make sure that we're not skewing too far to the left or to the right when we move, which is a common fault that will expose whether or not we are if we're disconnecting while we're doing the fish out of water. The seated hamstring stretch is not about how much flexion we can get about the hip. It's about getting the appropriate amount of flexion of hip flexion while a couple points of performance stay intact. That is keeping the legs completely straight, knees locked out, and keeping the torso completely neutral, not arched, not hollow, just a neutral spine, and then flex about the hip and not allow yourself to search for more range of motion by way of thoracic flexion, shoulder flexion or rotation. Just stay nice and organized. So even if we're only getting 1 to 2 inches of hip flexion, that's going to be more productive than getting 1 to 2 inches of hip flexion and then an unnecessary amount. Any amount is unnecessary, but an unnecessary amount of spinal flexion. The workout for today, 15 minutes to build to a 5-rep deadlift. So talked a little bit about it yesterday, 3, 5, 7, 10, 20. We're not looking for a 1 max. The truest set of 5 is a set of 4. So, that's not a steadfast rule or anything, but if you're trying to find a 5-rep max, there comes a point for every lifter that you would probably know that there's no way that you're going to get another pound on the bar and then be able to get whatever said set was that you were trying to achieve. So if you're trying to achieve a 3 or a 5 or a 7, you just know. But until you get to that point, and that road is paved differently for everyone, and even still, maybe you won't get there. Maybe you always will have to find a set of 4 in order to find a true set of 5. But that often comes with the caveat that the jumps that you're making aren't too large to be able to say there's no way that I could do another set of 5 after the first set of 5. So for example, if I get 100 pounds for my 5-rep deadlift today and then I jump to 120 and I get 3 or 4 reps, there's 20 pounds difference from the first set to the second set there. So the truest way to find that would be to find the absolute pound loading on the bar that's going to get me my true set of 5. If I get 4 at 101 after doing the 100 pound bar or 105, then I have found my 5-rep max. It's 100 pounds. But it's also heavy for the day. So heavy doesn't have to mean 5-rep max lifetime, 5-rep max PR. It can mean sort of whatever you want it to mean. It's a little bit ambiguous. It can be 15 minutes of specific warm-up, because as you see, if you look down, there are deadlifts in the workout. So stretch yourself a little bit to wherever you feel comfortable going, knowing that you have some AMRAP of deadlifts and wall walks to do, both pretty heavy emphasis on the posterior. But keep it productive. If it's going to be a productive use of your time, to go with to find the heavier ranges for the 5 reps on the first part, and then go a little bit lighter, or take it, not have the same approach for the Metcon. I mean, this is the balancing act that comes with doing work before the work. This is where we've said before, like if we're doing barbell work before the Metcon, and then that influences the Metcon, or there is something that happens subsequently because of how I approached the barbell work, then what I'm doing is I'm prioritizing the barbell work instead of prioritizing the Metcon. So they're both equally important to gain strength and to gain conditioning. But, if we are looking at it from the perspective of it's all about the barbell, then that, in whether we want it to or whether we think that it will or not, is going to detract a little bit, whether we know it or not, from the Metcon. If I come in with 100% recovery and I spend 20% of my what I have for that day on the barbell portion, there's no way that I can give 100% to the Metcon. I can give 100% of the 80% that I have, but that doesn't look the same as coming in, warming up, and doing just the Metcon. So do with that what you will. That's always been the process, but that's just to give you a little bit of fodder so that you can make the best decision for yourself for the day. So 5 reps, whatever that looks like for you. At the 15-minute mark, we're running out the door to the corner, to the pine trees, turn around, come back. Then AMRAP the remainder of 4 minutes with 15 deadlifts at, I'd say it's a light leaning towards moderate. I mean, if it were tipping one way, if 155, 105, if that were kind of, if 130, or rather 135, 95, if I would say that's standing straight up, 155, 105 has a little bit of a lean, kind of leaning towards moderate, but it's nothing crazy until we start looking at the 10,000 foot view, which I always like to do. And that's to look at it like, how many rounds do I feel like I'm going to get? How long is the 400 meter run going to take me each time? Even if we were to lean a little bit more towards, say, the 2 minutes side of things for the over-under for the run, that still leaves 2 minutes. Now, how many rounds of the deadlifts and wall walks do I feel like I'm going to be able to pull off in 2 minutes? And then turn around and do it all over again 5 times, 20 minutes. So if I were to think to myself, I could do that on the minute and be able to get 1 round per minute. That's going to be 2 each time. It's going to be 10 rounds. 10 rounds is 150 deadlifts at 155 and 105, and that's also an additional 10 rounds, and then 10 rounds would be 30 wall walks. So that's a lot of posterior engagement there, a lot of posterior, it's going to be really tough. And then when we think about coupling it with the run, and how, like anything, like when we've done Mannion with the back squats and running, and how it just kind of it just smokes the posterior chain, something to keep in mind, at least as far as choosing the loading and the whatever approach you take for the wall walks. We've done a workout, I don't know, a dozen to somewhere between a dozen and 2 dozen times over the years. It used to be one of my staples back in my YMCA days, of 10 rounds of 15 deadlifts at 135 and 15 push-ups, which is it's a spicy enough workout in and of itself. And I think that this is sort of like a ramping up of that workout. And that's, again, that's 150 deadlifts and 150 prone position presses, just a little bit, kind of the 2023 version of that workout, also throwing in the run every 4 minutes. So just to be clear, that a new round starts every 4 minutes. There are no rest periods or any regrouping. So at the 4 minute mark, at the 8 minute mark, 12, 16 is the last run, 20 is you're done regardless.